You have a great voice, by the way.
Thank you.
Know that. I'm sure everybody tells you that. Did you develop it like purposely, or is this just like how you naturally
It just
talk?
kind of happened. Yeah. Like, I don't know where the lower register came from, but it was gradual throughout my 20s, I guess. Because, I had a pretty high voice when I was younger. And seeing some of those older movies, it's always surprising of like, wow, yeah, that's my high voice from back then.
Yeah, it's weird. I would imagine people are probably surprised because they remember that, or people who you haven't spoken to or seen since then.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a great voice. So it's a good thing you're doing all this voice acting, I think. Okay, so tell me also. So do you kind of get sick and tired of everybody talking about the past with you because you're such an icon?
No, it's fun to talk about those things, even though it was a long time ago. I mean, the movies that people like to talk about are movies I'm really proud of. So it's never, I never mind talking about them. No.
Okay, because I know it could be annoying. I imagine, especially because you're not that person at all anymore. You probably even hardly remember what it was like to be that person.
It depends. Some of the things, because it was 25 years ago, fade into memory, but also because they were such crazy experiences to have at that age. That makes it, I think that embedded it in my memory a little bit more. I mean, even going back to Forrest Gump, I have really clear memories of certain parts of shooting that movie, which was even longer ago. So.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
So I wonder how long ago. So you were really little in Forrest Gump.
Yeah, I was 4 in that one.
You have memories of it?
Yeah.
So just little flashes?
Yeah, little scenes. And I was like, I know I was in Beaufort and Savannah at least for a couple weeks, but there are, there's a handful of specific things. And if I think about it really hard, I can probably stitch the chronology together about when we were shooting, at the Gump House, when we were shooting in his apartment in Savannah by the bench. Well, was it Anna Taylor-Joy who just, her husband proposed to her at the Forrest Gump bench without realizing it was the Forrest Gump bench? Somebody like that. It just happened.
Oh, really?
Where, yeah, he proposed. Somebody's proposed at this nice bench in Savannah, and then people were like, "That's the Forrest Gump bench where you did that."
That is too funny and also a great story.
It's a good bench.
And so random
Yeah.
that it would be somebody who's like in entertainment anyway.
Right,
too.
yeah.
Right.
They had a sense of it, yeah.
I kind of wonder too with memories like that. Like sometimes I wonder I think my furthest memory back, I have one picture of being at like friends of my parents' house, and we all were sick. We all had the chicken pox.
Oh, wow.
So I have like this one vision of everybody in pajamas. That's all I remember. Like I can't put
like
it
a
into
snapshot,
motion.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so weird. So you have these pictures, but you also have a little bit of. Do you have motion in your memories?
Yeah, they're what? It's like the Apple like live setting. Like they'll move a little bit forward in time, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you're not tired of talking about that stuff. You have good memories of it.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley, will you talk about that?
Absolutely, yeah.
I love that show.
I had a really good time being on it, yeah.
Were you watching it before you were in it?
Yes, yeah. And that's always fun. I mean, that's happened with a lot of these shows recently where I was a really big fan of the first season of What We Do in the Shadows. And then that role came along like right after it. It's weird to have been watching something and you're like, oh, wow, now I'm in their house on the set or in Silicon Valley, like, yeah, in the hacker hostel or all that. It was,
like surreal.
Very surreal aspect of the job, yeah.
And I think you were in it the last season, right before, or the second to last season, I mean.
Second to last season, yeah.
And I think that was the end of when TJ Miller was on the show too, right?
Right, yeah.
So it was kind of a big deal, I guess, a change in.
It was a big change for the show, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I always feel like that's a show that should, I mean, I know it was popular at the time that it was out, but I feel like that's the kind of show that should keep living on and more people should discover.
I would be, oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because it kind of tracked from, I mean, Mike Judge is pretty much always ahead of the game, but it tracked it from this time in 2014, 2013, when everybody, the tech people hung the moon and everything great was going to come out of Silicon Valley, to a point where we're at now where I think people are generally, and with good reason, more suspicious of that world and those people who have, put all this technology into our lives, even though we know it kind of has made all of our lives worse.
Are you a big technology user?
No. Well, I mean, I have to be, but I mean, things like the photo library that I've developed over the past decade, like I would love to put that on a hard drive and not be dealing with the subscription service with the cloud. But a certain company who should remain nameless, they just make that impossible for you because they know if you have the option to do that, you might stop paying them in perpetuity for those things.
Right.
I think a lot of people have that dream of like, I'll just go back to the flip phone and I won't have to be dealing with all these notifications. And but that's what those companies are afraid of because, they got to keep you hooked on it.
Right,
I mean,
they pull you in. Yeah.
the times when I have managed to not, or because I've been abroad, have not been able to be checking in on Twitter or the news in general. It's like, wow, those were measurably better times, psychologically. But it's hard to escape it now, and it also feels weird to be in Los Angeles or on a press campaign and not checking in with current events. So it's an odd position that we're all put in.
Right. I guess you also don't want to be caught asked about a topic that you have no idea
about. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right. That's a little bit of a pressure, I would think.
Yeah.
Like you never know what you're going to be asked.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Which I guess is why some people try to have their reps like make sure, okay, look, you can talk about this, you can talk about this, you can't talk about that.
Yeah. Now you want to stay, prepared on all fronts for anything that may have happened in current events.
Right. And are you into like the podcast format or whatever? Do a lot of these looser talks?
It's a lot. I mean, when I was first doing big press tours in the 90s, it was going to the Four Seasons for a weekend and doing 70 90-second to 3-minute interviews in a row all 3 days. And that was a really mind-melting experience because the conversation can never really expand beyond 3 or 4 questions, and they're usually the same questions. This is a lot more fun to have a longer conversation. You can actually, get into some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of who was the biggest prankster on set and why did you do this movie? Next person.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the worst. I know everybody hates it. Sometimes a publicist will ask me if I can do an interview in the middle of a press day.
Yeah.
And I'm usually like, listen, that's not ideal. Like, you're going to be crunched for time and you're going to be used to like these 5 or like you said, these 3 different questions.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a little bit of a break, but there's too much to have to deal with.
Yeah. You do feel like you're losing it though, because it's just, deja vu over and over and over again.
I guess you could almost like, why don't you just say one thing and everybody just records you?
You would think, I guess I guess it still makes sense for a lot of international outlets too, because there are still, because it's for television, it's like nightly television, everything. So I think there are a lot of outlets where they wouldn't necessarily have, access to the casts of films. But yeah, it's like, it doesn't feel like it's that helpful for anybody now with the internet because you can access it. And, because you have access to actors on social media, you can get a whole lot of information that people just give up willingly instead of having to wait for a magazine article to come out.
Yeah, it's totally different time.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's probably good for you that this didn't exist when you were little.
I guess. I mean, I think it's a lot harder for particularly kids who are acting or teens even more, I guess, who are acting now because, there's so much scrutiny. And as a teen now, you're way more plugged into all these social media things in a way that just didn't exist for kids like me. The internet was barely a factor when I was a kid. So.
Yeah, right. Because, I mean, what year? That was in the early 2000s, right?
Which one?
Like, I'm just thinking of The Sixth Sense.
That was 1999.
That was 1999,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, I think our family had just gotten the free AOL CD, for you could do IM with a couple of friends that had moved away, and that was pretty much all it was. At least for me at that age.
Yeah, that's such a different world.
I could remember and it was just within the AOL interface, but like clicking around to the tabs would be like sports, stock market, news. And in about 15 minutes, you're like, well, I've read the whole internet. So I'm done for today. I know there was more out there, but I was not savvy enough at that age to get onto that.
Well, I think at least at that point, were you dialing up? It was past that.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Oh, you were dialing
that
up?
sound that everybody, from our generation remembers. Yeah.
Classic. Then everybody had the email address at AOL.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then eventually everybody started moving on. Maybe they moved to like Yahoo or
Hotmail.
Yeah.
Right.
And then eventually Gmail changed everything, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different era.
Yeah.
So on social media, you're pretty active on social media, right?
To a point. Yeah.
What's your favorite platform?
They're all bad. But I think it's ironic that Instagram, I think, is the one that people have stayed the most comfortable with as time has gone on. We all know what happened to Twitter, but I still Twitter is still, even in its hobbled state, in its compromised state, a good way to keep abreast of things that are happening in real time. You have to sort through a lot more garbage than you used to, and it's not like it was ever a great platform. But for sports or for political things, it is still a great way to take the temperature of what's happening at this very moment. So, yeah. But Instagram, I went through college not doing any social media, and it's so funny how naive this was thinking back on it. But even in like 2008, 2009, like having a MySpace or Instagram, that was a thing that's like, I'm not on social media. But then people who are trying to steal your identity would just take that photo and go, haha, just kidding. No, I'm actually am in social media, and do that. So, and when you would reach out to Facebook or Instagram back in those days, if someone was really trying to make a go of pretending to be you online, they were utterly unsympathetic. They're like, well, why don't you get an account? That's the only way you can stop this. Even
no
back then,
way.
that's the attitude of those companies. So, and in the end, I guess they won because now I have an Instagram account.
I'm kind of surprised you even got in touch with. Like, how did you even reach a person?
It was really hard. You'd have to get a publicist or somebody to really, and I think that they very grudgingly even sent any response. But it would be something like, hey, this person is trying to scam people out of money using my photo. Can you do anything about this? They're like, no.
That's really insane, honestly.
Yeah.
It's really the whole way that everybody got roped in, not even understanding that that's what was going on.
Yeah.
That it's completely to benefit those companies. And it's not about, let's connect everybody.
Yeah.
It's really not. And then we're here.
Yeah. It's one thing to do it with a public figure too, but then that, like, I believe it was Facebook that was taking photos of just people's private accounts and selling them to advertisers. And there was one notorious example. I don't even remember what the advertiser was, but it was this teenage girl with braces giving a thumbs up, and it's like, it's good even for virgins. Like this very offensive thing. And the girl's parents saw it, were like, hey, like, can you take this down? And they had the same response that they had to me, going, well, what you got to do is make an account for her, and then you can submit a request to take it down. Not, oh my God, I'm so sorry we intentionally humiliated this, 14-year-old private citizen who doesn't deserve to have that happen to them. So,
this is really it's disturbing.
Yeah,
all of it.
It is, yeah.
And but it's so entrenched now. It's like the whole world isn't just going to stop using.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's tough to think of, like, it's like reforming anything that's run completely rampant in modern society. You're like, what kind of safeguards at this point can we do at all? Or, it's tough. I don't have kids, and I do think if I ever had kids, I was like, how would I even approach this? Because if you don't give a kid any access to the internet, it really does make their lives difficult in this world, unless we're living in some mountain meadow in a school that doesn't have electricity. I don't know if that's even possible, but it's, my friends who have young children now, it's a real struggle to not really mess up their social lives, but also you want to protect them from games where strangers can message you, or apps that really help make it easy to track your location. It's just it's a real minefield.
It sure is.
Yeah.
And then even beyond that too, it's like everybody's on their phones all the time. Kids are. So there's definitely a change in how kids hang out with each other.
Yeah.
So remember when you were growing up, I'm sure it was the kind of thing where you just go, I mean, it's maybe different for you since you were a child actor, but I mean, kids would just go hang out on the street.
We still
play
would
games.
ride bikes, into young teenagehood, and like that concept of having to make your own fun, and to, it does, I think, suppress your imagination if it's all, there's so much content being thrown at you. And, it is addictive. Like I'll go days where I'm like, all right, not gonna look at Twitter today, and then you're like, I'm still doing it. Or every time I open my phone, like there's just a certain pattern my fingers will do to go up to that app, and you're like, wow, that's so ingrained. I've got to stop doing that.
Absolutely. It's hard to even notice it when it's happening, but then if you do, it's like, okay, well, here we go.
Yeah.
So kids are not even really face to face as much as they were before. Even teens, it's the same thing. So whenever I have 3 kids, and whenever I see my teenage son, he's hanging out with friends, I'm like, this is just the greatest. Like they're just hanging out, they're watching a movie, or they're cracking up, they're laughing, and they're not doing it over the phone. I'm like, yes, this is good.
Yeah.
So that's how Blink Twice opens, actually.
Yeah, it does.
It reminded me of, there's an image, right? Well, it's not the first image, but
Yeah.
so let's talk about your new movie,
Sure.
shall we?
Yeah.
Blink Twice. So I screened it last night. I went to a screening room, saw it, did not know what, as I told you before, had
Yeah.
no idea what to expect. It was really, it grabbed me, and it's quite a movie. I think people are going to enjoy it. So
I think so too. Yeah.
did you know how it was going to turn out? Like yes?
Yes. Yeah. It was the script didn't change significantly when I read it to what it is now. But yeah, it was, the way I choose projects to do is always primarily based on the material. And this is a script where, the way it was written, it was really easy to see, the kind of energy and momentum and the complexity of the story that Zoe was telling. So it's been really cool to have been part of the team to make it come to life.
Yeah. So Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah.
Right. So she, I think, co-wrote it and directed it, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So it's a really cool and a very unique film.
Yeah.
There's also some observation. It's a little, I know for people listening or watching, they're like, they haven't seen it yet. Many of them will not have seen it yet, but they can come back and listen to this also. There's some sound elements that are super cool. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You've seen the film after it completed,
I've seen
right?
it in Final Cut. Yeah, I've seen it in a theater. Yeah.
At a theater.
Yeah, which is, I'll encourage people, under all circumstances to try and go to the theater to see things. But those sound elements really are they really, I don't know what it would even be like watching on a TV at home, but like,
yeah, that's
in
a theater
it's
movie
great.
for sure.
Because it is a movie where this group of people gets sort of swept up into this magical, weekend on a private island, and then it quickly becomes clear that everybody's having trouble figuring out what actually is going on. And that's a thing that they, with the editing, the way they shoot it, and with the sound elements, they create this sort of sense of getting swept off your feet and then being like, hang on, like what's been happening like the last couple of days? And that came through in the script, and it was really cool to see it happen with the technical elements too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very like, from the beginning, something is not right.
Yeah.
But you don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you get to experience it in a very, like you're saying, in that vivid way.
Yeah.
All your senses are seeing and hearing and taking in different things.
Yeah.
And it's super interesting. The cast is interesting too. It's quite a cast.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of interesting people in it, and it's an ensemble. I mean, I guess, would you call it an ensemble?
Well, it's I would say
certainly a
Naomi
star,
and Channing
too.
are the leads in it, but it is. We certainly felt and functioned as a team because we all got to spend a little bit of time in Mexico before we started shooting. We all lived at the hacienda that is the location for Slater's island way out in the jungle in Mexico. So even on our days off, you'd just be kind of walking around the property and you'd come across them shooting a scene there, or some people hanging out in the pool there. It felt, this is a word that gets overused, but it was very immersive being there and feeling this old building where all this stuff has happened throughout history, and then the type of film we were shooting there, it really just got deep into your bones, which was a great way to work.
Oh, that is cool. What's the history of that place?
I think it was a 17th century hacienda that had been used as, I believe, a plantation back in the day. It was being maintained by a Maya community now that had turned it into kind of a resort there, but you could just feel hundreds of years of history through there. And it was tough we had a pretty intense shooting schedule, but me and Simon managed to get to Chichen Itza one day, which is really cool to see some of the ancient history of that place too. So that was a highlight.
Yeah. I went to Chichen Itza a while ago.
Yeah.
Maybe like, I don't know, 7 years ago or something like that.
Was it murderously hot when you went?
Yeah.
Because they warned us about that. We're like, all right. And then we lucked out. It was cool and rainy the whole time we were there, which they were like, this doesn't happen here very often. It's usually no shade and intense sun and
that's
humidity.
how it was when we were there, for sure. But one thing I remember very well about that too is after we were coming back we were staying in Cancun at the time, so we were driving back, it's, I don't know, a couple of hours or something drive, and I remember we stopped at a restaurant and I fell in love with the tortillas that they were serving at that restaurant. I was like, okay, Mexican food for the rest of my life. It was that good.
If you had to pick one, it would be a good choice.
Yeah. And it's like so much on another level from all the Mexican Mexican food I had before.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is just a beautiful thing. So I always look back on that too. And I'm thinking,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
those tortillas were amazing.
Yeah.
But that's cool that you got to do that. And
Yeah.
so it was a couple weeks or something you were filming?
Gosh, we were there from early June until late July, so more than a month in the location that was near Merida in a place called Temazon. And then we had our final 2 weeks of interiors in Mexico City, which was completely different than our jungle experience, but a city that I loved. And I think those of us that hadn't worked there before were really excited to go back sometime because I loved being there. It was really cool. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So do people recognize you? I'm curious. Do they?
Somehow, yeah. I tried growing out the hair and the beard, but that doesn't have seemed to work. You might be one of the last people to see it too. I'm finally getting it cut tomorrow. I've used it in like 3 successive projects. I'm like, all right, now I've got to change it up.
So what are you doing? What are you doing?
Just
to it?
cutting it back to normal length.
It's
But
like short.
not super short, but like, I don't know. I guess I haven't decided yet, but shorter than this just because it's so hot. It's like I'm wearing a beanie everywhere in Los Angeles when it's 100 degrees.
I hear you. I
Yeah.
know. Like I need a cut too. I'm like, it is time in the summer. It's brutal.
Yeah.
And it's a lot hotter here than people think in the summer.
It's really hot at night too. And last this is the time we're doing a lot of like press events and events at night. And if you're wearing like a suit and tie at night, and then this is boxing in the heat, you're like, it's still 85 degrees outside.
Yeah. It's
And I adopted 2 dogs in the past year, and they like to sneak up in the middle of the night and sleep on my head. So I don't. It gets a little hot.
Yeah, I feel bad for dogs though with their fur. Like it's hot for us, but think about how
I
it is
guess
for
so.
them.
And they don't have sweat glands except between
Yeah.
their paws. If I'm remembering a Snapple fact correctly, I think that I am.
The bottle cap.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have a black lab, and so she's black. And then when
Yeah.
I walk her in the sun, I always try to walk her in the shade, especially
Yeah.
now. And I'm like, it's hotter for her, but regardless. Okay, so yeah, so you do get recognized. You tried to disguise yourself a little bit,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work.
I think I've appeared too much in recent years with this look too, so I'll find some way to
This
change
is a
it
look
up.
too,
Yeah.
right? Like you were
Yeah.
very recognizable as a child,
Yeah.
and you were very recognizable now. And of course, your face, it's you.
Yeah.
People feel like they know you, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Do they approach you in that way, and is it uncomfortable?
No, it's my interactions with people are generally really nice, which I'm grateful for. So yeah, people are. It always surprises me because I even walking around in this city, I don't think I'm super aware of recognizing people. So
I don't either.
yeah.
And it's interesting. I like never see people.
Yeah.
And they're everywhere. Celebrities are everywhere, right? But like I'm just kind of walking around. That's what we do in New. I used to be in New York, so.
Well, I like that about New York too, is that's a city where I think that's more the attitude. If people are more into their own thing and are not, LA is a place where people are looking for that. And in New York, it wasn't the case, which was cool. I could blend in a little bit easier in that city.
So what do they say to you? Same kind of things over and over?
It's just about projects usually. The time when people just wanted to say the line from The Sixth Sense is luckily in the past. That doesn't happen so much anymore.
They would ask you to say it?
Sometimes, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is a line, however, that goes down in history. And I think it's kind of cool that you were the one who said it.
Yeah, it's to have that be on that AFI list of quotes is that's pretty cool.
Oh, is there an AFI list of quotes?
Yeah, 100 years, 100 quotes. Yeah.
Oh, I know the 100 top movies from AFI. I didn't
Yeah.
know they had 100 quotes.
Yeah, they did a bunch of those hundreds lists, which is for people looking to watch a movie. That's like 500 good movies. It's like 100 years, 100 thrills, 100 years, 100 laughs. It's just a fraction of the whole library, but that's always a good starting point if it's a Saturday night and you don't know what to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a good start. Citizen Kane is always going to be at the top. What do you think of
Yeah.
Citizen Kane?
I love Citizen Kane. Yeah, they not to plug another podcast here, but there's a podcast called Scott Hasn't Seen with Sean Diston and Scott Aukerman, where they watch a bunch of movies that one or the other hasn't seen, and their Citizen Kane episode just came out recently. It was really good.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I have never heard of that podcast. It's a good one.
It's a great one. Yeah.
So then you
Yeah.
get to kind of experience a movie that maybe you have seen before, and then you get to see somebody new and their response to it.
Yeah, and I think it's a very identifiable situation where you look at the list of movies you haven't seen, you're like, how did I miss that when it came out? And
Yeah.
going back through watching some of these films with 2024 eyes, I guess.
Yeah, I saw Ocean's 11 for the first time a few weeks ago.
Oh,
Like,
the
how
new
did I
one,
not-
the Clooney one.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a really fun movie.
Which is, it's not really new anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I mean, it's the remake, but I was
Yeah.
like, sometimes you stumble upon a movie like, okay, I should probably see that. It's
Yeah.
like one of those movies.
Yeah.
Are there any movies that you've never seen still that you know you should see?
Let me get the list out. And some of my friends who live in my neighborhood, we have a kind of a movie club. It's not as regular as we'd like, but a bunch of them hadn't seen Silence of the Lambs, and we did that. A bunch of them haven't seen Aliens. We did that. That's one of my favorite movies. The next one is Fury Road, which a bunch of people missed. What do I need to see? I need to watch Shogun. See, this is what happens today. It's all television shows.
Yeah. Well, there are some good television shows.
I've never seen Paddington. Everyone says I should watch Paddington Bear. What is it? Oh, these are all new movies.
What are the shows?
Never seen Virgin Suicides. I've got to see that. So.
Are you skipping over the shows that are on all the TV shows?
Yeah, well, I shouldn't admit to it. Well, I'm not caught up on The Bear. I didn't finish The Curse.
Okay.
I need to see Killing It.
So
I
The
need to see I'm a
Curse-
Virgo. Yeah.
You do need to.
There's so
finish
much
The
to
Curse.
watch.
If you started The Curse, you
Yeah.
definitely need to finish it because it pays off at the end.
I respect that show so much, but I think everyone could agree, like, it's not like a fun
No.
watch. It's, it makes you feel so gross the whole time.
Yes.
It can be hard to power through it. I liked what Benny Safdie said. He's like, I've spent my whole career trying to make fake things look real, and Nathan spent his whole career trying to make real things look fake. So it's a perfect collaboration. It seems to be.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as I was watching, I was like, why am I watching this? Do I really want to keep watching this? It was like, not like you're saying, it's not a comfortable
From the
experience.
beginning with the dad in like the tomato room, and you're just like,
Oh.
I think they'd be very happy that that's our response to it.
That's right. But I will say this, and for anybody who started it, I wasn't sure if they should finish it. I will say, for the last episode, this is what you could hear in my house. You could hear me saying, "What the? Oh my!
Yeah.
What am I watching?"
All right, you've sold me. That reaction definitely sells me.
So just go to that, or like at least it's a few hours. It's not that many episodes, but I would
Yeah.
say yes to that. I tried The Bear. I couldn't get into it. I don't know. I hate it when I don't like a show that everybody's like, you need to watch this. You're going to love it. And I wish, because I want good quality shows to watch.
Yeah.
And then if I can't get into it, then I'm done.
Sometimes it just depends on the time. Like, it took me like 2 starts to do Mad Men, and then it just something clicked. I was like, oh, great. Like, and then I just watched it all the way through. Like, I guess it just, you go through different phases where you want to watch the right thing. The hilarious thing is, during the pandemic, I'm like, what a wasted opportunity to watch all these movies I hadn't seen, because what I did instead was watch a bunch of movies I had already seen.
Oh, you did?
And it's like, I guess that's what you need in that time. Like, you were using so much bandwidth just to stay sane in those times that you're like, I don't need to absorb new information. I just need to have information that I already know wash over me. I think I did like all the Lord of the Rings, all the Star Wars, all the Indiana Jones in like the first 48 hours. And I was like, damn it, I gotta find new comfort food.
Well, I have to tell you, looking back, I realized that we were really in a weird mental space then. Not that we didn't already know it, but here's how I know.
Yeah.
So a few weeks ago, my son and I are watching My Octopus Teacher.
Oh, I love that movie. Yeah.
When did you watch it?
Late in the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're watching it, and it's about this man who becomes kind of obsessed with an octopus that he meets in the water. And my son and I are watching it, and like we're both having this reaction, like, what is going on with this guy? Like, I'm feeling really disturbed for him. The photography was amazing. The footage was really cool. But we're like, but everybody said this is like the greatest movie ever. And then I went back. I remember my friend Louis Anderson was a friend of mine. And I remember
really?
him at the time telling me, you have to watch this. You just have to see it. And, he's no longer with us. And I saw it after he died. And I'm like, I know he wanted me to see it. Everybody loved it. I started looking back in reviews. And I'm seeing that they were all during the pandemic, and they were seeing it in a different way.
They're like, two things are connecting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
yeah, it was
That's
like
interesting.
a light bulb moment for me that we didn't even know what mental space we were in at the time. And it's like, we all watched Tiger King. Would you ever now? Probably not.
No.
But you did then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even then, I was like, why am I watching this? Like, but that was like before. That was when we were still like, we'll be out of this by Easter. And like when it really sunk in, that's when we got to the Last Dance phase. Did you watch that one?
No, what's that?
It was the 10-part documentary on the last year's Michael Jordan the Bulls. And I rewatched that recently, and that was a crazy experience of going like, wow, completely different I liked it still, but it was a completely different response from when that was the only thing on television. And particularly, there was no sports on TV for months and months and months. And it was just hanging on to this, fond memory of the 90s when I guess we had fewer problems.
But that's what I'm talking about, right? You realize now it's like, oh, wait, what? That was...
They'd be like, oh, Dennis Rodman like snuck away to Vegas. You're like, wow, it'd be nice to go to Vegas right now. But I can't.
Right. So okay, so tell me about your family life. Like, are you close with your family? I know you have your sister is famous in her own right too. Like she's just so. What's your family situation?
She just did the first what is it, live show night for George and Mandy, which is the new multicam spinoff from Young Sheldon. So we're all very happy for her.
Cool.
That's gonna be a really funny show. She's 4 years younger than me. All of us live in Los Angeles. I was in New York for 15 years and then just coincidentally came back to LA in early 2020, which I think my parents were really grateful for because I might have been stuck out there for a good portion of the pandemic. But my sister's getting married to a great guy in October, so that's been a big part of this year, getting ready for that. And her juggling all the planning that it takes to do that while starting a new television show. So
it all happens at once, right? When it rains, it pours.
Exactly.
So you just lean in and enjoy all of it, because there will be times when it's the opposite and life is boring.
Yeah, this has not been one of those times. I can't think of a time when it has been boring.
Really?
Even when the world shut down. No, not really. But I think we could use, like, just as a society, one boring year, because when was the last year when there wasn't some, extreme event, upending everything?
I don't know. When was that?
Was it 1999?
Maybe it was.
It might have been.
But that wouldn't have been a mellow year for you.
No, it wasn't mellow for me.
But it's true. Like I was telling my son the other day, also we're looking back at the shows. I'm doing a little bit of research on you, and of course I'd seen The Sixth Sense ages ago, and I showed it to my daughter and my son, like when they were of age, and I had never seen AI. So I said to my son Charlie, I was like, let's watch AI.
Yeah.
And it was so I just saw it the other night. But I said, isn't it funny that they had to write AI, artificial intelligence, then? Because really, not everybody knew what that was.
What does that stand for? Yeah.
So just in that period of time, it went from that to this, like the number one topic.
And it's funny because for all of the, the thought that Kubrick and Spielberg put into imagining what the future would be like, it's funny. I wonder, I haven't had the chance to ask Steven this, but I was be like, are you disappointed that AI is just like a word, a image generator, or this like frustrating, like kind of broken syntax chat GPT thing? Like, we were in a philosophical space of like, what if these things could learn to love? And now it's like, I think kids are cheating on their homework. So that's
it's not what he was envisioning, I guess, at the time, but it's so interesting. And that, by the way, that film was not what I was envisioning either.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is not what I expected at all. And it kept going in different directions. And I love at the beginning, because it is so Spielberg, how he catches this like American Family kind of situation and feelings between. It's so interesting. Obviously, I'm not the only person who respects him as a filmmaker. Did you see The Fabelmans?
Oh yeah, love that.
Like, so great.
Yeah.
And I love the way, just going to point this out random, I just love the way how he portrays moms in these movies. It's very cool. Like, there's that love for his mom that I think we saw in The Fabelmans.
Yeah.
And all of the mom characters, I think he has a different vision of them.
That movie was so interesting to watch because I knew his family story, and that documentary about him had come out a couple years ago. But yeah, he had a very complex family life, and those relationships had very clear effects on how he would portray those archetypes in his movie. His mom would actually come to the set of AI a couple times.
Oh, no way.
So yeah, I got to meet her a few times, and yeah, that was crazy having that memory of her and then seeing Michelle Williams playing her. But yeah, I love that movie, and I enjoy, there's something about him, and this also happens with Scorsese movies, where it's like, wow, these guys have been making movies for 6 decades, but always seem to be finding new techniques and little stylistic experiments that seem to be exciting them. Like, they have never gotten to a point where it's just, I'm just doing my old stuff and everything. They're always finding, and in The Fabelmans, in just the way that he did that scene towards the end where he's appearing in the mirror shooting this scene and his reimagining of how that conversation would have gone, like, it's just really interesting to me.
It is interesting, and I think that's the thing, like, we all kind of should strive for, is to be able to feel that engaged with the world, to keep finding new things to be passionate about and experiment with. Like, that's living. And yes, I totally appreciate that too. Like, I mean, there are these common threads at the same time that you can feel that. You feel Spielberg there.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. She came to set. Cool. Right. And you grew up working with so many iconic and hugely creative people. So how do you think that impacted you?
Oh, a lot. I mean, I feel definitely a responsibility, not like an obligation, or that it's like, I mean, I feel a positive responsibility to do things with all of the knowledge that I've been lucky to have access to, and all the things I've been able to watch, and to watch these legendary filmmakers and actors, a foot away from me doing what they do. It really has had a major impact on me. I'm definitely looking to get behind the camera. I've had some stuff that I've been writing and developing. It makes me laugh because right when I really kind of was leaning into focusing on that side of it, that was why I moved back to LA in 2020, and the pandemic happened, and then I got some things off the ground in 2022, and then the strike happened. So hopefully, if America gets through 2024, it'll be a good time to have some of those projects finally get off the ground, because this year has been really tough for the industry. Like, there's just, things are not being bought or produced. I've been shocked at some of the major projects with major names that you hear that go out and don't have any buyers. I think a lot of the studios and the streamers are just trying not to spend money for 2024. So hopefully that will change in 2025, and we'll have some kind of stability in the future. But it's been interesting trying to find ways to be creative, particularly during the strike year when nothing could go on. So I was doing some short films, I was developing some other properties, but it's acting is an interesting job. I'm always a little bit envious of improvisers and stand-up comedians, because it's like, well, you can always go out on any given night and practice your craft. If you're an actor, you can't go to some club and be like, hey, do you want to see me do one side of this scene that I did on television 6 years ago?
Yeah.
It takes other people to collaborate with to develop your craft, and it takes a place to do that. So it's a challenging job in that way.
Yeah, right. And also, like, what I understand, or what I've heard also, because I talk to a lot of actors, obviously, is even when you do get that job, like, the percentage of time that you're spending actually acting is tiny.
Yeah. And I've had friends who have either drifted away from acting entirely or have gone back to focusing on theater, because that ratio is just, it's too difficult, too frustrating to live with. And I really sympathize with that, because it is a tiny percentage. It's not a great comparison, but it's kind of like, how much time in an NFL game is the ball actually in play? And it's like this tiny little percentage of that. And acting is like that too. The finding, getting a project off the ground, getting hired, auditioning, traveling there, But for me, when you're actually on set or rehearsing or actually working on the material, that is so much fun. It makes all the other parts of it worth it. So,
It's so rich in that. It's condensed, but it's rich in that section.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about, like, this is not for me, I can't do this anymore?
The way that I wanted to test myself with that was stepping away from Los Angeles for what ended up being 15 years. But going to school in New York and studying experimental theater, which was so much fun. And that was just my way I'd always wanted to finish college. I don't think my mom, who was a teacher, would have let me get away with not finishing college, but at least we were on the same page about that. But it was a time to go, is this something I want to do forever? And do I enjoy the part of it that's at the core of it, that's away from even television and film and stuff like that? Is it the acting part of it that is going to sustain me for an entire career? And yeah, it was very clear to me that was my favorite thing to do, is to create with people in that way.
So that helped you see that
Yeah.
venturing off into New York and kind of.
It distilled it down to its essential qualities. And also, like, I learned a lot there. There was a style of performance and a style of creating material that was completely different than what I've been used to doing on, television and in Hollywood films.
Right, because you were so young when you got into it, so it wouldn't have been your interest necessarily. So you got into it without knowing if you liked it, probably.
You got into it almost by accident, basically. And then within a matter of a few years, I was old enough to appreciate it as a career. But I was still a kid. So once I got to be 18 years old, it's like, all right, like, I'm a different age right now. I need to go see if I, how much I love this thing. And if I can think if there would be anything else that I'd like to do, and anything that I can think of would be something artistic. So,
Yeah. Well, that is so interesting then, because you fell into it. You said what was the accident?
Oh, it's, I was shopping at IKEA with my mom, and there was a table set up outside the play place area where kids would play while the parents would shop. This is the Burbank IKEA. And they were taking Polaroids of kids for like commercial, auditions. So they took my Polaroid and wrote our number down, got called in for this Pizza Hut commercial, got the commercial. And then I forget how much longer after that, but once the Pizza Hut commercial aired, the casting director for Forrest Gump saw it and called me in. And that's how I got my first big job.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's so wild, because and then as it's in your Forrest Gump and then you're in the other movies, and it's like it seems like you did have a passion for it. Like, it seems like it's so interesting that you fell into it at IKEA, and then it became and I don't know, because it's acting, but like when I think about you in The Sixth Sense or AI or Pay It Forward or whatever, it seems like you're out there having fun.
Oh yeah. That's a really fun place to be.
Like, yeah. Does that come across? Like, it comes across to me, but am I reading it properly?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It really never felt like a job or a chore. There wasn't times I was like, God, I wish I was back at, other than really specific times, like there's this 6th grade pool party that I'm missing out because I'm out of town.
Yeah.
Other than things like that, there was never a feeling of like, I wish I was in class with my friends, which was partially because I mostly was in class with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the laws, the child labor laws in California. If you're 8 years old, you can only be on set counting travel time and lunch for 8 hours. That takes out an hour, and then however much the travel time is. And then you have to do 3 hours of school. So it makes a lot more sense if you're a big part of a movie to shoot it in the summer, where you get those 3 hours from school back. So during the school year, I was basically always there. So I think that made it easier too.
Yeah, and it also seems like you managed to get through it without a lot of emotional distress.
Yeah.
Would you say that's true?
I think so, yeah.
So why do you think that is?
I think because, parents were number one. My parents had a really great attitude about it and always said the right thing, which was, if this isn't fun for you or you want to quit, you can always quit. There was no pressure of like, you got to keep doing this. You got to keep getting these jobs. That was not a factor at all. And that all of the directors and, producers and fellow actors that I worked with when I was a kid, I think there was a very big concern because of, horror stories that people had heard about kids who had worked in the industry, that they did not want to have any part in somebody's experience being that way. So everybody took, I think, extra. It was in, I've worked with a bunch of nice people. It was in their nature anyway. But I think there was a specific thing of like, we are not going to let this happen to that kid.
Yeah.
And it really didn't.
Yeah, you're lucky. I have a friend who is a producer, and his son is an actor, child.
Yeah.
And he said he was on an independent film, I think last summer or something. And his wife came home and said, because she takes him to everything, and she's like, well, this was interesting because everybody was really like, oh my God, you did so good. Great job. You're the best. And it's like, that's nice. And it's well-intentioned.
Yeah.
But that alone, like his wife could see that his head was getting a little.
You gotta be careful about that.
Right. And so that's not even like the nightmares you hear about, right?
Yeah.
That's just very well meaning.
Yeah.
But it can have a big impact on somebody so young.
Yeah. And I think that happened to me too, that people weren't weird about it. People were complimentary and supportive, but it didn't get to a level that was, I think, too hyperbolic or destabilizing. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. And it's another thing from my parents too, where it's like, to this day, I don't completely block out reviews of things or responses to things, but I try and keep the positive and the negative at an equal distance, because both are equally, they mess up your ability to perceive yourself if you listen too much to the compliments people have, or if you take, the criticisms or online abuse that everyone gets from one time to another. It can really mess with your sense of self. So I think I've always, even before the internet became a factor, I always was keeping that stuff at arm's length, which I think has been helpful.
Yeah, it's very complicated and tricky.
Yeah.
Do you think you have a decent sense of self? Like, are you in touch with yourself and figuring out who you are? And
yeah, and I think that's something I'm grateful for, is that whatever happens with my career or anything, is I trust myself, and I don't look to other people for that kind of validation too much, which I think is helpful in this world.
Yeah, which is also hard, not even just for somebody who is in entertainment.
Yeah.
That's
the thing. Everybody has to deal with that in some
Yes.
respect. Now everybody's thrown up on social media for other people to judge. So,
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's really this is the thing that people also, it seems like, I think for some people think oh, celebrities have it so great or actors have it so great, but every person has all of these same struggles internally.
And I'll find, excuse me, that some of the best actors, and a certain type of actor you have that is hypersensitive and hyper aware, and their instrument is really finely tuned. That sort of person, it's really difficult to build up a callus against that kind of stuff. And it would be tragic if they did, because you're something that makes someone a great actor is because they absorb everything and live so much in the present and everything. I think that my personality type is a little bit more toughened up to those things, and you have to kind of try and take that away in your craft, because you have to allow vulnerability and be responsiveness to things. We had this teacher who had been at ETW. His name was Steve Wong, and he came and did this talk when I was at school, and this great part where he's like, everybody, I'm paraphrasing, he's like, but everybody builds up these, these walls. He's like, can you imagine walking down the street in New York City completely open? And it's everybody has this, you build up certain defenses because you're being, there's just too much stimulus from everything all the time.
Yeah.
And as an actor, you have to allow yourself a little bit to completely open that door, to get to certain places in performance. So it's a very paradoxical existence.
It is, right? Because in life, you're trying to kind of get stronger and not be so vulnerable and whatever else, but that's really what you need. But also in life, you need that too. Yeah. Right? You don't want to be invulnerable.
Yeah.
Even with your own relationships and your own experience in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so super interesting. The human experience, it just, every element, every aspect of it, it's just part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to take all the things.
Yeah.
And you're aware of everything. You're thinking about things. So you're very meta.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right?
Yeah.
So how would you describe yourself, your personality and whatnot?
I think that I am pessimistic about where things are going, but my attitude is very positive. I think I'm very comfortable with myself, and I've made my peace with all the horrible things that are probably going to happen in the 21st century. And as a result, I love my job. I really enjoy my friends and family, and have good relationships with them. And just kind of go from there. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think back of what I imagined life would be like at this age, or what my career would be like, or even when I was looking at colleges when I was 18, which is the time you're really trying to imagine what your future is. And even then, it was never my nature to have too concrete expectations in any way. And I think that's partially because working in this industry teaches you to not make concrete plans because you don't know what's going to be happening 6 months from now, and your job is never going to be consistent. But just thinking about life, I was like, wow, it's kind of just open to whatever happens. You know, there's things that I wanted to do and certain principles that I would hold to, but I think I can kind of take life as it comes because I never had too many hardwired expectations of what life should be like. Even with like, you know, in my 20s, I was in this place of being like, I'll go wherever the work takes me. I will sign a 6-year contract to go work in South Africa, which I did at one point because, you know, I'll go where the wind blows. I'm a little different in my 30s. I couldn't have got my 2 dogs if I was traveling around the world too much now, but I still am just very open into, you know, what awaits us.
Okay. And so what are you still working on personally?
So working on personally, not being too negative about, you know, keeping a little bit of hope. And my mom always called it keeping a little bit of room for sky in your head, because I definitely read too many nonfiction books and am way too plugged into current events for what is healthy. So learning to let go of that a little bit, I think is going to be a positive thing. And I have a tendency to work in a very circular way on projects. So I will work on a bunch of things all at once. And that is something I'm definitely trying to do, is to like take things one at a time and finish them, particularly with projects I'm developing, because I could probably work forever if there was no deadline. And so now I'm getting better at being like, okay, artificial deadlines to finish this, just to start, you know, getting things done so you can move on to the next thing. That's the big focus for me right now.
Okay. And right, like we were talking about before, you want to like Spielberg, you want to constantly be looking at things to do or think about life in different ways also. So that's a positive thing, to keep doing that. So this is what you're working on in your 30s. There'll be something in your 40s or 50s, and it'll keep going. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to forget to ask you about Bruce Willis. May I? I know you
Sure,
talked to Adam Carolla about him the other day.
Yeah.
So do you talk to Bruce Willis anymore?
It's been a while since I talked to him, but I do know his daughters a little bit. And in the years after The Sixth Sense, he did keep in touch and was always very nice to me and my whole family. I have this back when answering machines used to be the little tapes, I have this little voicemail from him. I came home from school one day, and on the answer machine, it was just him going, "Haley Joel Osment, hey, call me back." Like, was just called the house sometimes. That was the kind of guy he was. But yeah, it's a really terrible and tragic condition. His entire family's been very courageous about it, and that gives me a lot of comfort knowing that he's surrounded by just incredible people. And I mean, and what a life he's lived. I mean, he's always going to be what a movie star was in my mind. And I'm really lucky that I got to watch him work and to hang out with him as much as I did.
Cool.
Yeah.
And was there anybody else along the way who you had just kind of a special spark with, a special relationship, who you feel really stands out for you?
I've been very lucky. People have been very good about staying in touch. And that's, I've really, you know, there are other people that have done it, but one of the most impressive things that Steven Spielberg does is to keep in touch with it must be thousands of people that he's worked with, and send letters on birthdays and graduations. And I've, you know, seen him at screenings for his events a lot over the years, and just, he's very, and stays involved in the lives of the people that he's worked with. And that's not the only reason, but like I really try and do that, and to stay in touch with casts that I've been close with, and you know, try and keep in touch with people, because it's a job where you will have the closest relationship for a month or two with somebody, and basically live with people around the clock, and then you might have to say goodbye for years, or, you know, indefinitely. Because that's just the way things work.
I know, that's always, I always feel like that's so sad too, because you make these connections.
Yeah, it's like summer camp every couple of months. You're like, promise to write. Like,
and people aren't that good at staying in touch, even if they like you. Like, you know what I mean? So the fact that it really takes like a Steven Spielberg to do those things, because he could still have these great feelings towards you always, but just never do those things.
Yeah, and I don't hold it against people who don't stay in touch.
Right.
And I've met people who had a very, how would I describe it? I don't know, not realistic, but just, I've talked to one actor who was just like, when we finish this, we're done. I don't talk to people after. And it's like, I understand that too. Cause how could you possibly maintain this expanding, you can't keep in touch with everybody. I know that I'm probably not perfect in keeping touch with everybody, but I try.
Well, trying is something. Yeah. And not everybody does it, like I said. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to try to wrap it up because I know that we're out of time, but I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Okay. So one is, if you could go back and change anything in your life, any decision you made, anything that you did, what would you tweak?
I would have learned to I've made plenty of mistakes in my life, but the one that I think about the most often that I wish I had done was to learn to play piano and read and write music as a kid. That's the one thing I have no complaints really about how my parents raised me, but that's the one I give my mom trouble about. I was like, why didn't you force me to take piano lessons?
Oh, yeah.
Because doing it in your 30s is really hard.
So, yeah, you're doing it now?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to get to the like reading music, like the technical side of it, but I'm giving it a go.
Yeah, so hard as a parent because you don't want to, you see your kid miserable doing something. You don't want to force them, but at the same time, it's like, they're going to be better off. It's for their own good.
Yeah.
Well, you usually regret the things you don't do, not the things you do. So that falls right into that. Yeah. What you didn't do.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last question is, what is a common misconception that people have about you and who are you really?
That's a tough question. I don't know. I feel like people have a pretty good sense of who I am and what I'm about. If they have a sense of me at all, I think it's also funny. I'm sure there's a lot of people whose idea of me is frozen back as the 12-year-old, but that doesn't bother me because it makes doing roles that feel really transformative. And as I get to be in my later 30s now, a lot of roles are opening up that I'm only now getting to play because I've reached that age. That excites me when people could watch me do a whole performance and go, "Oh, whoa, that was you!" Like that's something that really makes me happy. Mm-hmm. So
okay. So in the future, what is the future Haley Joel Osment going to be like?
Writing, directing, producing, and definitely still acting. I'm not interested in getting those other things behind the camera to leave acting behind. I'm excited for the potential of doing all of them to some degree. So that's really my main goal in life right now.
All right, cool. Well, I see it happening. So let's go with that.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you so much, Haley.
Thank you. It was really nice talking to you.